All right, so now that we have an understanding of frequency distributions, histograms, frequency polygons, stem and leaf displays, now we can look at the final bits for this section, which are looking at bar graphs, pie charts, and line graphs. So remember, there are some slight variations from some of those other diagrams we've seen so far. But let's just read through. These are all more ways to summarize and analyze data. Bar graphs are similar to histograms, but work with separate individual bars, either vertically or horizontally. So a lot of differences between a histogram and a bar graph. Pie charts usually deal with percentages, and each piece of the pie is proportional in size to its percentage. So we're going to see how we can actually create our own circle graphs by hand without too much difficulty, hopefully. And then last, we have our line graphs, which are similar to frequency polygons, but can often have instances of multiple lines on a single chart and are not closed. So you can see we do have just floating lines in space here. You know, we have our bar graphs. We can have multiple bar graphs represented under a single category. So a lot of differences between these types of diagrams and what we've seen so far. So let's see how we can use these to our advantage. So in this case, all they want you to do is just answer questions based off of the graphs. So you can see we have 3 different bar graphs. Not very fancy because it's not colorized or anything like that. But normally you would have some nice pretty colors in there, which helps differentiate between the different types of graphs that they're giving you. So we gotta be a little careful with these. So the first one we can see is a gross domestic product. We have unemployment rate, and we have the consumer price index. So we just gotta make sure we use the right graphs for the questions. So the first one says, about what was the gross domestic product in 2014? So gross domestic product is our first graph here. So we want to look at 2014. And so if we go up, we can see it's kind of in the middle here. I mean, 18,000 is above it, 16,000 is below it. So we can kind of see that this line here should be 17,000. So I mean, we can kind of assume that that's the case. And now looking at it, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's about halfway between 17,000 and 18,000. So I'm going to say 17,500. Now, we want to make sure we write the appropriate units though. So that's where looking at the side is very, very important. And this says billions of current dollars. So this is money we're talking about here. And we're talking about billions. Now, if you're not sure how many zeros you're going to need to write or anything, all you have to do is just write the word billion. And don't forget the dollar sign. And that's it. So we have the billions, we have the dollars, so we're covered. I mean, if you want to try to make that pretty, you can, but I think that's satisfactory in my book. And that's it. That's all they want for that question. Now for B, it says, by what amount did the unemployment rate decrease from 2015 to 2017? Okay, so unemployment rate, we are in our middle table now, and we want to go from 2015 to 2017. So 2015, okay, so we can see it's above 5 and below 6. It's closer to the 5, so we're going to kind of guess. I mean, 5.5 would be, you know, right about here. And so it's below that. So, I mean, you could put a variety of answers for that one. But in 2015, I'm going to say it was 5 point, I'm going to split the difference, 5.25. And looking at the side, percent of all civilian workers, so percent. All right. And now 2017, let's see here. So again, we're above 4, and we're just a little under half. I'm going to say it looks like 4.4. Now, obviously, these are guesses as to what I think it is. Your guess might be a little bit different. You might say 4.3 or 5.3 here, or 5.2. That's fine. But again, this is approximately. So if we want the decrease, though, we have one more step left to do, though. So we have to subtract. So 5.25 minus 4.4 is what? Well, again, if you're not 100% sure, use that calculator. So 0.85. So 0.85% decrease. And my head's in the way. So there you go. So there's that answer. And now the last one. Over the 6-year period, about what was the greatest change in the consumer price index and when did it occur? All right, so consumer price index, the greatest change, and when did it occur? Well, okay, so we're going to go look at it from year to year. So it changed, it went up, looks like 0.5% from 2012 to 2013. It dropped over 0.5% here. It dropped a little bit here, but then, whoom, it jumped quite a bit from 2015 to 2016. That looks like the greatest change in my book. So we have to figure out what that change is. So we need to know what those numbers are at. So for 2015, it looks like it's a little bit less than halfway between 0.5 and 1. So halfway would be 0.75. So I'm going to say it's 0.7. 0.7% there. And 2016, let's see, 2016, it's above 2. And again, you know, if we looked at the halfway point, it's right about there. That would be 2.25. It's pretty close to 2.1, I would say. So what was the greatest change? Last step is to subtract. So if we said 2.1 minus 0.7, I think we can do that in our head. So 1.4%. So that was that greatest change. So these problems can be a little bit tricky because you have to make sure you try to give a good guess at what those values are, especially when the tables kind of bake like this. There's not a lot of detail in the numbers in between, so you have to kind of extrapolate and guess what you think they are. So just be careful on those. All right, I'm going to save the last part of this for the last video because it's a little bit longer, and that'll take care of the pie charts. So see you soon.